Hello everyone, it's been quite a while. So you're welcome to today's tutorial. Today's tutorial is on princess dress from the shoulder to the hemline. So let's get started. I'm taking down 1 inch from the top margin and I'm going to rule that. So next I'll be taking down the dress length and I'm working with 40 inches. Square that to the side. So the next measurement is the back waist length, 16 inches. And then the bust line, which is same as the armhole line, 8 inches. So next is the waist to hip measurement, also 8 inches. Now this is the standard measurement is between 8 to 9 inches actually. Please pardon me, I just have to keep drawing the line severally so it will be visible. So next we take the shoulder measurements. The shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2, 7.5 inches. We square that on the bust line and then draw the armhole line. So next we take the 1/5 round neck measurement, 3 inches, and then the depth is 6 inches. The neck depth is 6 inches. It's a V neckline. The next is the shoulder slope, 1 inch. So the standard or the first standard shoulder slope is between 1/3 inch to 2 inches. I'm taking 1 inch here on the front bodice. This is the front bodice we're working on, and then I'm extending the neck width by 1 inch also, so making it 4 inches for the neck width and 6 inches for the neck depth. And then I'm taking up 1.5 inch and then coming down also by 1.5 inches on the bust line. The squaring that also 1.5 inches up and 1.5 inches down. And then I'm drawing the line. So the up one, the top one is the chest line, and the 1.5 inches that I brought down is the bust point line. So I'm going to label them. This is the hip line, the waist line, the bust point, the bust line, and the chest line. So next we're going to take the midpoint on the armhole and mark, and then we're going to come in by 0.5, that is 0.5, and draw that line to the shoulder. We'll connect it to the shoulder tip actually, and then diagonally I'm taking in 0.5, and then we draw the armhole. So next we insert the bust span. The bust span I'm working with here is 3.4 inches. Also square that on the waistline, the hip line, and also on the hemline, since it's a princess dress. For the shoulder, we're going to divide into 2. So we're going to get the midpoint on the shoulder make a point or mark a point. So let's draw a line connecting all the dots that we've marked. From the shoulder down to the hemline. The next thing to do is to take our dart intake. I'll be taking 1 inch, so ½ inch on either side of the dart line, and then taking up 2 inches from the hip line and coming down by 1 inch on the bust from the bust point. And then we draw the dart legs. Note that the dart intake you take is up to you. You could do more than what I've taken. So we're going to insert our measurements, the bust measurements, quarter of the bust measurements, and then quarter of the waist measurements, also quarter of the hip measurements. Next we add ease and allowance. So I'm going to be adding 3/4 inch ease and 1 inch seam allowance. The same thing also, but first we take the darts allowance 1 inch, and then we add the ease and allowance 1 3/4. The same 1 3/4 on the hip line. Now if you do not want to add ease, it's totally up to you. You want it fitted to your skin, is up to you. So the same measurements we have on the hip line, we're going to insert that on the hemline, just like I've done. And then we draw the shape of the dress. So we're going to add also allowances to the armhole, the neckline, and the shoulder. ½ inch is okay. So we're going to add 2 inches to the hemline, seam allowance also. Sorry about the background noise. There's a construction going on around this area that I am working from. So our pattern is ready. It's time to cut out. So this is the center front and the side front of our front bodies. So we're going to cut the center front on fold, and the side front we're going to cut 2 pieces. So the next is the back bodies. We'll come down by 1 inch on the top margin as well. So next we take in 2 inches from the side. This is for our zipper, so we can mark our zipper allowance on that side. And then we take down the back waist length of 16 inches, same as the front. And then bust line, same as the front as well, 8 inches. Next is the waist to hip measurement of 8 inches. So I'm going to take the neck width, the same 3 inches that I took at first on the front bodies, and then the neck depth is 1 inch for the back bodies. So I'm just drawing a square, or is it a rectangle? So I'm taking in 3/4 inch, and then I'm going to draw the neck curve. So I'm taking the shoulder measurement of 7.5, just like the front, and then squaring that on the bust line as well. And then draw the armhole line. So let me label, this is the hip line, the waist line, the bust line. So we measure the shoulder slope 1 inch. I'm taking same measurement as the front bodies and then connecting to the shoulder. So the next we determine the midpoint on the armhole and then mark. And so I've been inserting the 1/4 bust measurement, 1/4 bust measurement and mark. So I'm going to measure that area from that point and then taking it up. Now I'm coming in by 0.1 on the armhole and then connecting that to the shoulder tip. So I'm going to mark 3/4 inch to 1 inch diagonally, just as a guide to draw the armhole. You could do up to 1.2. And then I'm going to draw the curve. So the next is the bust span measurements, the same 3.4 we took for the front. I'm going to take it all the way to the hemline. Okay, we haven't taken the dress measurement. The same 40 inches we're going to mark. So now we take the bust span and then connect the shoulder. We need to divide the shoulder, but before then we extend the neck width by 1 inch, just like we did for the front bodies. So the width is 4 inches and the depth is 1 inch for the back bodies. And now we determine the midpoint on the shoulder. So now we can connect the dots with a line all the way to the hemline. So next we take the dart on the waistline, 1/2 inch on either side of the line, and then taking up 2 inches from the hip line. And then we connect to the bust line. So the next thing to do is to insert the waist measurement. We've taken the bust already, so the waist measurement, 1/4 of the waist measurement, and then we insert the dart, also that allowance, and then 1/4 of the hip measurement. Next we take the ease and allowance just like we did the front, the same 1/3 on the bust, the waist and the hip line. So we're going to take the same measurement we have on the hip line down to the hem line. So the next thing to do is to draw the shape of the dress. So we're going to take our allowances, 1/2 inch on the armhole, the shoulder, the neckline, and then the zipper allowance is 1 inch. So in order not to have a bulge at the back of our dress, this is what they call zipper bulge. To eliminate it, we are going to take in 3/4 inch on the waist, not from the allowance, please. So from that point, we're going to mark the zip allowance or zipper allowance, sorry, 1 inch. We're going to connect it to the remaining part of the allowance on the dress. So if you notice that part is a bit curved, so you're going to take the allowance in the same manner. So we draw the zipper allowance. This side is a bit curved, so I'm going to use my hand to just draw it. So let's add the seam allowance 2 inches, just like the front bodies. And then it's time to cut the pattern. So this is the center back. We cut 2 pieces, and this is the side back. We also cut 2 pieces. So when you place some fabric, you're going to add 1/2 inch allowance on this cut part, because of course we separated, so that when you're joining, you will still have your measurements intact. The same thing also will be done to the front bodies. And that's it. We have come to the end of our video. Thanks for watching.